Yo guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are finally doing the final episode of my Chainsaw Man review series. It is episode 3, and today we're going to be talking about what is essentially volumes 9 through 11. So the Gun Devil arc and everything having to do with the end, we're going to be talking about, discussing. And man, the ending of this series is just ridiculous. I've never read something so fast in my life, I don't think. That day when I read this, I think I read half of the series in one, sitting. Volumes 7 through, the International Assassins arc and the ending, all of that, I read in, one sitting, so... Yeah, very fun read, a lot of crazy stuff here, and some of the just coolest imagery and just pieces of fiction that I've ever seen in this last arc here. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, so strap in and let's get right into the video. We kick off with volume 9 here. We see the aftermath of the International Assassins arc and how much damage the Darkness Devil caused. Of course, they went to hell and all of that jazz. Really cool part of the story there with the Darkness Devil and the Hell Devil with the hand reaching down and all the doors and stuff. Really awesome scenery and just part of the story, but we see the aftermath that has caused, especially with Power. The once proud and bombastic Power is now broken down to was basically a child. She's scared of the dark. She doesn't want to shower by herself. She's just so helpless and scared because of the trauma that the Darkness Devil caused. This causes Denji to have to help her with these things, which is kind of weird, but they're devils, and it's a weird story. They're weird people, so it doesn't really matter, but he helps her bathe and they shower together or bathe together. He sleeps next to her, and just she's just very scared, but they end up making this weird almost erotic sort of contract thing where he's sucks her blood as payment or something. It's really weird. It's a weird scene that's kind of uncomfortable, but he says during that part that what's supposed to feel taboo because it's ooh, doesn't really feel that way with Power, even though what they are doing is kind of freaky. It doesn't really feel that way because I guess he's basically in his mind friend zoning her, I guess. But he sucks her blood, which actually plays a part into the ending of the story, and we see the effects that causes. One of the biggest things about this volume, though, and I feel like the character that is really highlighted in this volume is Aki. We see major character growth in Aki throughout the entire series. I think he's one of the most dynamic characters in how he grows from the very beginning to the end here. He goes from being somebody who just doesn't care or seemingly doesn't care. From the beginning, he's always cared, but he just didn't have a great way of showing it, to a pretty decent dude who's not always a jerk, and what happens here, he tries to withdraw from the whole Gun Devil thing, the Gun Devil who killed his entire family, and who he's been hunting after this entire time for years. His main goal, he's willing to give up to keep Power and Denji safe. This whole plan of his to withdraw, though, sort of gets thrown out the window because the whole point of him withdrawing is to keep Denji and Power safe. But then Makima is just kind of well, they have no rights, so I'm sending them and you can withdraw, but Denji and Power, I need them to go. So he's just well, crap, then there's no point in me withdrawing if they're gonna go and die anyway, so I might as well help them if there's a chance that they won't die. So that's what he does. He signs back up, Turns out the Gun Devil, I guess, has already been defeated. I can't exactly remember if Makima was capping or not, but if I remember correctly, the Gun Devil was already defeated. We see that the US government was actually controls the Gun Devil, which kind of makes sense because oftentimes the United States is associated with guns, so that's just the way it is. The President of the United States makes a contract with the Gun Devil that he will give the Gun Devil 1 year off of every American citizen's lives if the Gun Devil can kill Makima. So it shows up, it's prepared to just start blasting, and that's exactly what it does. It just causes mass destruction, mass mayhem. Thousands and thousands of people are just dead, just instantly, just bullets fired through buildings, just wiping out and leveling cities. It's extremely powerful and has one of the dopest designs in this series. I still think the Darkness Devil is cooler, but this thing is just like a floating amalgamation of heavy machinery and just guns. It just looks freaking ridiculous. If I remember to, I'll throw a picture up on screen for you guys to see. But yeah, the Gun Devil is just ridiculous. On the flip side though, we see Aki and Angel go to meet Makima on the beach. Now, something weird happens where Angel starts to have glimpses of something that happened, people who he's never seen before. And he's like, why am I having these? And then they meet Makima, and this is where stuff goes down. We learn that Makima is the Control Devil. Yes, she is insanely powerful, and what happens is she's able to just control people, and so that's what she's been doing to Aki, that's what she's been doing to Angel, and the Aki, even as they're approaching Makima, he questions, because he's having a conversation with Angel, like, you like Makima too? And he's like, yeah. And then he starts to, like, question, why do I even like her again? And then that's sort of like foreshadowing, like, something's coming, and maybe, you know, she isn't who she seems. And then she forces him into a contract where she uses his power. We see, like, there's a bunch of devil users and devils or fiends, whatever. There's a few of them that she has forced to, you know, work with her, and she uses all of their contracts at once to try and face off against the Gun Devil, which she was obviously prepared for. She knew it was coming, and yeah, she is a devil, and she forces Aki and Angel into a contract to use them against the Gun Devil. The Gun Devil appears in front of Makima, and using the abilities and contracts and manipulating all of the people she is controlling at the moment, she uses all of them at once to try and take down the Gun Devil. And the Gun Devil ends up getting very hurt, and, you know, it's sort of left off there, you know, a little bit of a cliffhanger. But then we see another instance where Denji is forced to open a door. I can't remember if we've seen it beforehand, but it's a recurring theme. He has this dream of the door, and Pochita just tells him, do not open it. And this happens again. He is forced to open the door. And he is told, you know, he thinks that it's just Aki. Aki is going to show up. And he's on the phone, and there's like, you know, they're like, the doorbell keeps ringing. He wants to open the door. Pochita, you know, his dream flashes before his eyes. Like, he can never remember, but in this instance, he sees his dream, and Pochita says, do not open the door. And what does Denji do? He opens the door, and what we see is horrifying. What we see is Aki, and not just Aki, but Aki, the gun fiend. Meaning, yes, Aki was killed, and the Gun Devil took over his body, which is kind of ironic considering the Gun Devil is the one devil that he was hunting after, and he was killed. So now Denji is kind of confused or doesn't know what's going on, and just all of a sudden, blam, Aki starts blasting. What happens next in this next scene is truly gut-wrenching, especially if you've been invested in the story and the growth of these characters and the relationships that they've built over the course of the last 8 volumes of this series. It's really just terrible to watch, but simultaneously it's one of the most beautifully drawn and written sequences in how it's portrayed in the entire series. Basically, Denji is forced to fight against Aki. Now, Aki has been consumed by the Gun Devil, so he's just like shooting stuff, just blowing up buildings, killing innocent civilians, and Denji is forced to fight his friend. He at first he's trying to just stop him, like, Aki, what are you doing? What's going on? He's just so confused. But it comes to the point where he knows what he has to do. But in Aki's mind, he's far beyond gone, like he's dead. But because he's a fiend, I guess a little bit of him is still left. So what he sees in his mind is he's a kid again, and he's doing a snowball fight with Denji. That's the way he sees it. He's back in his old home when he was a child in the snow and is throwing snowballs. But what is really happening is every time he throws a snowball, in his mind, what's actually happening is he's shooting the crap out of Denji and just obliterating people and buildings around him, causing mass destruction around him. But in his mind, it's just a simple snowball fight. Denji ends up getting killed by Aki, and his body is just laying there, but the civilians that survived are begging him to stop Aki from what he's doing, stop the Gun Devil. So what they do is they're all around him, slicing open their hands and dripping blood into Denji's mouth to revive him, and Denji revives, and he sees that all of these random civilians need him, and they are begging him to help. And it's at this point he really realizes that there's no stopping Aki. There's no bringing him back. And so he's forced to do what cannot be done. As Aki approaches to finish the job, Denji takes his chainsaws and pierces through Aki and ripping him apart, killing him. He is forced to kill Aki, his best friend, and their relationship is one that has grown so much over the course of these 9 volumes at this point, and one of the only people he considered a true friend, and he had to kill him, or else he basically was saving him from himself and saving the lives of countless civilians. He had to kill Aki, and this is foreshadowed way early on when Aki first obtains the power of the Future Devil. The Future Devil tells him that he'd be killed in the worst way possible, and that is being killed by his friend. We start volume 10, and Denji is just a broken man. He's suffering from severe depression. He just had to watch his friend kill countless people and destroy almost an entire city, and he had to finish the job. He had to do what needed to be done. And so he's suffering the effects of that, just like Aki is gone, and I killed him, And it's at this point, he decides he doesn't want to think anymore. He barely wants to live at this point. But then, in his weakest moment, Makima shows up, and, she talks to him. They go back to her place, and she offers him his one wish. He killed the Gun Devil. That was his whole goal from the beginning. Makima tells him, if you kill the Gun Devil, I will grant you any one wish. And that is just what Denji did, but in a way that he wasn't expecting at all. But he gets his one wish, and he wishes that he doesn't have to think for himself anymore. He wants to become Makima's dog, and have her just make all of his decisions for him. He doesn't want to think. He just wants to live and be hers, Makima to control him, essentially. Makima essentially like, I bet I can do that. And we hear the doorbell ring once again. And Denji is like, oh, probably Power. And Makima's like, yeah, I invited Power over. And Denji says, oh, cool, it's my birthday coming up soon. She's probably trying to surprise me, And Makima's like, no, I'm going to kill her. Now, Denji is just completely taken aback by this, He's like, this has got to be all a joke, right? And once again, Pochita tells him, do not open that door. And he's like, why are you going to kill Makima? Or not Makima, Power. And Makima's just like, I thought you said you wanted to be my dog. Me make all of your decisions for you. And so Denji, once again, opens that door. Power is standing there with a birthday cake for Denji to surprise him. And all of a sudden, Makima just points at her fingers like this and just says, bang. And in an instant, Power is just obliterated. So Denji just stands there looking around after this happens. When Power just got blown up, pretty much, her blood splattered all over his face, and he's just standing there mortified. He doesn't even know what just happened and why. And so Makima, just tells him, all right, let's go back inside, as if nothing just happened, and they're sitting there on the couch. And it's there that we finally understand Makima's whole plan and what she's been doing and how she's been manipulating Denji from the very start. So, one of the big themes of this series is relativity, what seems great to some people might not seem great to others, You take a hobo, for example, and just give them a couch, they think it's so great, they've been living in a cardboard box, and you give them a couch, they'll think it's excellent. But if you give a couch to somebody, a rich person, they'll be like, oh, it's just a couch, that's not that great. And that's sort of what we see with Denji throughout the story, is that it's the simple things that make him happy, because he's lived such a terrible life as a child. And it was Makima's whole goal to really build him up and spoil him and give him a life that he had never had, a good life, give him friends, a family, give him food, warm food, a place to live, all of these things that she gives him just to break him down. He knows, now he's been spoiled, he knows that there's a life this good, and now she's just gonna step by step take it all away from him to break him down into something truly terrible. The next day, Makima just is walking with Denji, and Denji is just a husk of a man. He isn't there anymore. He's almost on autopilot. Denji isn't Denji anymore. And here we start Kishibe's whole plan, where, this whole time Kishibe has been working in the shadows. He even tried to enlist Quan Chi to help him kill Makima, And here's where it all starts. He gets people with rocket launchers just shooting the building, trying to blow up Makima. She gets shot in the head and is killed, and then she comes back to life. I'll get into that here in a minute. Also, what else happened? He has people that are lined up, just slitting their own throats to make a contract with the Hell Devil to try and kill Makima. He's going all out. People are sacrificing their own lives just to take down Makima, because she is something that is terrifying and has to be stopped. But it is here, though, that we have probably my favorite scene in this entire series, and that is when we're introduced to the hero of hell, the Chainsaw Man. And holy crap, is this the coolest thing. So what basically ends up happening is Denji is no longer in his body. He is not in control. What I believe is happening here is Pochita, the Chainsaw Devil, is, taking control here. and becomes the Chainsaw Man. And basically what this means is Chainsaw Man, or Denji, gets this whole new form. I don't want to call him Denji, because it's not Denji, it's Pochita that is using, I guess, Denji as like a physical, like using him as a body, I guess. But it's not Denji that's doing this, it's Pochita. And he just becomes this insanely cool chainsaw devil. He's got like 4 arms, and his head like changes shape. He's got the whole chainsaw head, but it has like this like stuff that sticks up. It kind of reminds me of like the hat that the hunters wear in Bloodborne. That's one thing that I thought it kind of looked like. He just turns into this insane chainsaw devil, and the true extent of his power is explained to Kishibe, because him and Kishibe and Makima are having this whole conversation. So it's here that we get a full understanding of Denji, or not Denji, but Pochita's power, and as well as Makima's power. So, and Makima's whole grand scheme is finally revealed, and that is, well, the Chainsaw Man. The reason why, and this was foreshadowed again with Beam, who calls him Lord Chainsaw, and also with Angel, who explains that, you know, there's this theory that the only thing that devils remember from their time being in hell before they were reincarnated into the human realm is the sound of the chainsaw. And all of this is because the Chainsaw Man is like, I don't even know how to explain it. He just helps. He's almost like a superhero or an anti-hero, where he just kills things, I guess. But like, you know, if you say, Chainsaw Man, save me or help me, he'll go kill something. And then like, but also kill the person who asked for help in the first place. I'm not exactly sure about all of that, but one of his main powers is that he can eat the devil. If he eats and consumes a devil, then that whole idea would have been just erased from existence, and people won't remember it. And so it is explained, like, Makima says, do you remember what the Nazis did to the Jews? And then Kishibe's like, what are the Nazis? And that sort of is like, oh my god. Like, what happened was Denji must have eaten like the Holocaust devil or the Nazi devil or something. And so everything that happened in like World War II, I guess, like the whole Holocaust and all that, was just erased from existence. That is extremely powerful, and it alters just reality. So at this point we see the reason why the Nazi whole thing disappeared is because Denji is fighting the Hell Devil, and the Hell Devil sends him to hell, and he's just killing devils left and right, and trying to fight his way back. I keep saying Denji, but Pochita is just killing devils left and right, consuming them, and just erasing things from existence. It's super dope. It's just an awesome scene. I don't know how much I can show, but I'll show you guys Denji's, Pochita's form up here, because it's just awesome. And I had it as my profile pic for a while just because it's so cool, and one of my favorite manga panels just ever. When it's first introduced and he's fighting the Hell Devil, it's awesome. But Makima's whole plan is to try and create utopia, pretty much, by having Pochita consume all of the bad things in the world. And I can't exactly remember why Makima, of all people, is able to remember like all of these things. I think it's because she is the control devil, so she has full control over her own memory, and so she's able to like counteract the effects of it, and so she alone is able to remember stuff. I'm not exactly sure if that's accurate or not. I watched like an explained video on it a while ago. Can't exactly remember the fine details, but it's something along the lines of that. It's because of her expert control over her own power. But in order for her to be able to gain full control over Chainsaw Man, and the whole reason what she was doing to Denji is to break him down, to bring out the Chainsaw Man, because she couldn't just use her control powers over Denji and just him alone. He had to do it on Pochita. So that's why, people are after his heart, I guess. And Makima was also after his heart, and so that she can control Pochita. But what we see, though, is her power works only if she believes other beings to be inferior to her. Now, we see a gradual increase in this. If she's able to control a rat, that means because she believes herself to be a greater life form than a rat. And we see this happen, over time. What will happen is she'll start to control more and more greater beings until she's able to control other humans, because she believes herself to be a better and greater life form than other beings. But in order for this to work, she has to be able to defeat them in battle to confirm the fact, hey, I'm better than this person. So then once she has that idea and that is confirmed, then she's able to control them. And so that's what she's trying to do with the Chainsaw Man. The next scene that we get is one of the most iconic Chainsaw Man scenes, just for being so bizarre, and it's often taken out of context because it's, people will post memes, and people who haven't gotten this far in Chainsaw Man or have even read it are just like, what is happening? And that is the burger scene, which is pretty funny, and it's actually quite heartwarming when you actually understand the context. So basically, if I remember correctly, what is happening in this scene is Pochita is basically trying to give Denji the life that he really never could. So what seems to everybody else like he's kidnapping people and just killing people, it's like he's trying to... What happens is Pochita goes into this burger shop where Kobeni, or Kobenai, whatever her name is, however you pronounce it, where she works because she left the devil hunters, or what are they called, public safety officials. She left that and decided to work at a fast food place, and then Pochita ends up kidnapping her, and it's supposed to be his way of allowing Denji to take a girl on a date or something. It all happens with good intentions, but to everybody else, it's just ridiculous, it's terrible. But if you guys want to see a really funny scene, be sure to read that chapter or a few chapters when all that takes place, because it's pretty funny. Now comes the part of Makima's plan that actually requires her to do something, and that is that now she must finally defeat Chainsaw Man to be able to control him. And the way she does this, it turns out there are plenty of hybrid devils other than just the ones we've seen. There's the Katana Devil, the Arrow Devil, the Bomb Devil, of course the Chainsaw Devil, but we've got devils like the Flamethrower, the Knife Devil, I think it was, the Whip Devil, and basically Makima has control over all of them. Characters like Quan Chi and Rize, as well as the Katana Devil, whose name I don't remember, are all still alive, but they're just all underneath the control of Makima. And so all at once, all of these different hybrid devils under the control of Makima face off against Chainsaw Man. It's like a 1v6, and it's just one of the dopest fight scenes. They're all fighting him at once, and he's just repeatedly destroying them. It's a very fun fight, and it ends up with Denji being shot into space by Makima. She uses her bang ability, shoots Chainsaw Man into space, in the atmosphere, and what he does is he rips out his heart and throws it back to Earth, and then another Chainsaw Man body regrows around the heart. Bruh. It's one of the most... it's probably my favorite fight in this entire series so far, because it's just all of the hybrid devils, which, before it was like a treat whenever we got to see a new hybrid devil, but here's just all of them at once, and that we know of. There could be even more hybrid devils that come later on, but there was 3 new ones that we had never seen before in this one fight, including Rize and Quan Chi, who we thought were dead. They're back. So, yeah, it's just really awesome. Volume 11 and the finale of Chainsaw Man Part 1 kicks off with them still being in the midst of battle, and Makima basically is able to weaken Chainsaw Man, because now Chainsaw Man is sort of a celebrity, you know, after what happened with him saving, Denji saving everybody from Aki and the Gun Devil, as well as, you know, what happened with Rize, and everybody knows him now worldwide. People are chanting the name of Chainsaw Man, and he's revered as a hero for mainly what he did with his fight with Aki. And since there's, you know, Chainsaw Man and how devils work in general is their power is drawn from the fear of others. The fear, you know, gives them power, and they're more fear surrounding a certain idea or subject allows for the devil to manifest more powerfully, you know. But since, you know, they're all chanting his name and they all love him, his power is severely weakened. Because of this fact, Makima is able to use the power of the angel devil to create a weapon. I already sort of explained how his whole power works. And essentially what she does is she strikes him down, and what happens next is pretty cool. That blood that Denji drank of powers, I remember how I said it plays a part in the ending? Well, Power, even though she's dead, because Denji consumed part of her and her blood, she is the blood fiend, well, the blood devil inside of a dead body, which makes her a fiend. She's the blood devil. She's a piece of her, a portion of her, is living within Denji. And when Denji, because it's his body, even though Pochita has taken over, Pochita is like about to tap out after this. Now, Pochita, we get a scene where he is talking to Power and basically says, hey, I will give you some of my blood to, you know, regenerate, but I need you to get Denji out of here. Power accepts because, you know, Denji is her best friend. And in the next scene, we see Power come back stronger than ever, not as a fiend, but as the Blood Devil. She shoots out of Chainsaw Man's dead body, and she races, she's holding on to him, she shoots like blood attacks at Makima and her army of zombies that she created with, you know, somebody's contract with the zombie devil. And it's just like this whole scene where Power is just holding on to Chainsaw Man, trying to get away. She's having to fight off hordes of zombies. It's a really cool scene. Almost all these scenes in Chainsaw Man are great, but this is just really cool. And they end up in a dumpster. They're hiding, and Chainsaw Man turns back into Denji, and they have this whole conversation. Basically, Power can't stay alive here. You know, she is dying. But with this, she will be reincarnated. She'll go to hell and then be reincarnated later on, but she'll lose all of her memories. So what she tells Denji is that when he ever meets the Blood Devil again, to make sure that he becomes the Blood Devil's friend and return her to being Power, you know, to allow the new Blood Devil to become Power again. After this whole meeting with Power, Denji wakes up at the trash can because he must have fallen asleep or something. But he wakes up and he finds Kishibe standing over him. In the next scene, Kishibe takes Denji and Kobanai into like a secret, I wouldn't say a bunker, but like a safe house, I guess, and basically says, we can't live normal lives anymore. Makima has pretty much won, and, you know, we can't let her ever find us. You know, Denji, you're not allowed to use your chainsaw powers anymore. You gotta stay low-key for the rest of our lives. But Denji ends up seeing this scene, it must have been on the news or something, about Chainsaw Man, and sees how everybody loves him. and this just gives him inspiration even more he doesn't want to be normal. He now, he's had a normal life, and this also has to do with like the whole theme of relativity. Now that he's experienced what it's like to, have a normal life, he wants even more. He has the ability he's basically a celebrity. He wants more to life than what he has gotten. It has so much more to offer. And so he knows what he must do, and that is that he must finally defeat Makima once and for all. How this all goes down is in the next part, I guess. I keep saying scene. I'm trying to use other vocabulary words, but I guess in the next scene, Denji is waiting for Makima to show up. He's sitting on top of like a cross that's like in a graveyard, and so there's a bunch of crosses on a hill, and he's just sitting on one of them, and it's one of like the most cool spreads in the entire series. It's really great, and he's just sitting there, just straight vibing, waiting for Makima to show up with her crew to once again take him down. She brings all of the hybrid devils with her again, and this is just going to be like a rematch. Denji lost the first time, or not Denji, but Chainsaw Man, and now Denji can't rely on Pochita's extra powerful form. He's not using the two-armed form, or four-armed form, he's back in his normal Denji hybrid form, where he is in full control. He's at a bit of a disadvantage here, but this is a rematch, and he has another chance to redeem himself. And what he asks Makima is, it's supposed to be like one of those thought-provoking things that you guys know that I don't always understand. So I actually had to watch a bit of an explained video for this. Basically, what he asks her is if she won against him and took control over Chainsaw Man's powers and got rid of all these bad things to try and create a utopia, would she keep bad movies? Would bad movies still exist? And she says no. And so that is what clicks in Denji's head, and he's like, okay, I have to kill you. And basically what this whole conversation, again, sort of has to do with relativity a little bit. If we remember that scene when they were movie hopping, it's, that sort of foreshadowed this. There were so many bad movies that they had saw beforehand, and when they had watched all of those bad movies, when they finally got to the good movie, it seemed so much better than it would have been if they just saw the good movie. And basically, what I understand is Denji's whole outlook now is that you have to have bad things in life. There has to be bad things. It can't be all good. But when you do have bad things in life, it makes the good things in life so much better. And what Makima was going to do is take away all of the bad things. And so it's a utopia. There's only good, which isn't possible, but that's what she's trying to achieve. And that decreases the value of the good things in life. The fight begins, and even though Denji is a lot weaker than he was with his Chainsaw Man form when Pochita was in control, he's actually able to hold his own pretty well against all of the hybrid devils just on his own, and he even kills a few. But that all changes when Makima steps in, and it's like a 1v1. And what happens here, though, is Denji sort of lets her win. And I'll get into that here in a minute, but Chainsaw Man gets bisected, and there's a whole scene, it's a spread where Makima is holding Denji's body, and his whole intestines are spilling out, and she rips out his heart and is just holding it in the air, and it's just like a little Pochita, because Pochita is his heart. And what happens, though, is that behind her, Denji shows up, and we're like, huh? And he's holding a chainsaw, and he goes in and he kills Makima. And so, how is all this possible? Well, he killed Makima. Like, it's over. He won. And the reason that he was able to do that is he learned from the last fight when Pochita was sent into space and was able to rip out his heart and create another Chainsaw Man. That is what Denji did. And he created one Chainsaw Man, and then he had himself. What Denji managed to figure out sort of shows, how much Makima didn't even care about him, and she was really only after his heart to achieve her own goal. Never cared about him from the beginning. She never even noticed him. All the way back in chapter 1, we see I don't even know if it was chapter 1. It was one of the first chapters in the first volume. Makima says, this isn't the scent of a human or a devil. It's something in between or both at once. And so we know that she has a really strong sense of smell. And this whole time, the only thing she was after and could recognize was Pochita's scent, because that's what she was hyper focused on, was Chainsaw Man, not Denji. And we learned that she never even saw Denji's face. She looked at him, but she never recognized his face, and really only recognized him by Pochita's smell, which was inside of him. So if he separate Pochita from himself, he's basically camouflaged. Makima can't see him because, she can see him, she just never recognized him. So what Denji is able to do, and if we turn the page a few pages back, he's standing right next to her, in his just human form, chilling, walking with her crew as if he belongs there. And all she sees is Pochita and doesn't realize Denji is right behind her. So when she has her guard down, Denji shows up with the chainsaw and just cuts her, and that's it. Well, Makima isn't exactly dead, because if you remember, she had, I don't know if I actually explained this, but the reason why she couldn't die before, even being shot in the head countless times throughout, I think she was shot in the head when Kishibe's plan was happening. She was shot in the head on the train in volume 3. The reason why is because she has a contract with the prime minister or whatever of Japan, where if she were to die, that pain or that attack is deflected onto a random Japanese citizen. So if she were to get shot in the head and killed, then she doesn't die. Some random person does. That being said, she's very wounded by Denji's attack, and he used the last bit of Power's blood that was inside of him to create that chainsaw he used. And because it was made out of Power's blood, when he used it on Makima, her blood got into her system and was able to slow down her healing process, in turn making it harder for her to regenerate and whatnot. I can't exactly remember how this whole ending part was explained when I first heard it, because when I read this, I was like, this is insane. What just happened? What? And then I watched an explained video, and I can't remember exactly how it was explained. This part is still very confusing to me, and it seems like there's a lot of debate in the community of what actually happened. But the way it makes sense to me, what ends up happening is Denji eats Makima. He cuts her into pieces. It doesn't show it, and then it just sort of flash forwards to him eating, and it's oh, so this is how you taste Makima? That's what he says. And I'm like, what? He's eating Makima? And so basically he can't kill her, because of her contract. If he were to kill her, she'll just come back. He's able to cut her into little pieces though, and her regeneration is slowed because of Power's ability, which was the blood chainsaw that he created. So she can't reform, even though she's cut into pieces. Then when he eats her, it's not him attacking her, because her whole contract relies on somebody to be attacking her and causing her physical harm. Then it's reflected. But if he's not doing it with the intent of attacking her, then it's like a loophole in her contract where it doesn't activate, and so she won't revive well, she'll revive as in when she's reincarnated, which is another issue, and not really an issue, but a piece of the ending here. But she won't just immediately come back to life because her contract didn't activate because Denji found a loophole. Later on, we see that Makima did die. She was sent to hell, and then she was reincarnated fairly quickly. And now we have a new control devil whose name is, I think her name is Nayuta, and she's like this little girl. And now Denji is tasked with taking care of this little girl and making sure that she doesn't become another Makima. There's sort of a dream sequence where Denji is talking to Pochita, and Pochita tells him that all the control devil ever wanted was family, and to, have people love the control devil, But the only way it was ever able to achieve that is through fear and power, which, using its power is able to control people, but it wanted genuinely people to like it. And so this is a new opportunity for the control devil, and Pochita tells Denji to give this little girl lots of hugs and to take care of her so that she never wants to become like Makima once was. And then the ending of the volume is there's a random devil attack, and Chainsaw Man, or not Chainsaw Man, Denji, who is now known as the Chainsaw Man because he's basically like a superhero, the Chainsaw Man, and like his secret identity is Denji. He's like a high schooler now. He goes to school and then basically shows everybody running away from this giant devil, and then he's walking toward it about to pull his ripcord, and it just says end of part 1. And for people who were reading it weekly at the time and didn't know that there was a part 2, were like, that's not the end, there's more. And so it was meant to be like just an insane thing, and it was for people at the time. But of course, I'm making this review after several chapters of part 2 have already been released. And so that is the end of Chainsaw Man part 1, guys. I'm here to give you guys sort of my final closing thoughts on what I think about the series. It's no secret, I freaking love it. Chainsaw Man is awesome. It's one of my favorite series, probably my number 2 favorite series that I've read so far in its entirety. Number 1, Vinland. Love Vinland. Number 2, Chainsaw Man. And those 2 series I'm constantly talking about because I love them so much. Chainsaw Man, it's freaking hilarious. It really pushes the boundaries of what is acceptable in shonen manga. It should be a seinen, honestly, but it snuck its way into shonen, the shonen demographic. But it's ridiculous. It's hilarious. It's disturbing. It's gory. It's action-packed. It has some of the most bizarre just story elements and characters in manga. So bizarre that it reminds me of like JoJo in some like aspects. It's just all around an awesome story. And a few downsides I have, I guess, are that, it has a lot of deep themes, and I'm not really one that really picks up on stuff like that all the time. It usually takes me having to, talk to people who know more than me about it, or watch videos made by people that know more than me to finally understand what is going on with stuff like that. I'm really just reading to figure out what's, happening on the surface level, which, if you're like me, this series is fine for that too, if you're just reading for all the action and gore and, the easily digestible stuff. But, if you're here for like deeper stuff, there's a lot for you here too. And so yeah, that is why a lot of the stuff was really confusing to me. I could be wrong on some of the stuff about the ending, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate, or if not, then, you know, that's just the way I perceived it, because a lot of it's up for interpretation, and that's sort of the whole point of the series. Fujimoto's goal was for it to be a lot of it up for interpretation, but also that's ways that I've heard some people explain it also, and I've sort of formed my own opinion around what I've heard other people say and just what sounds right to me. And so that's sort of where I got that from. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate it. This is probably going to be my last video for a minute, just because I'm finally moving, like actually leaving in a couple of days, and we're in a whole situation. I'm basically going to be living in a hotel for like a month. So there's not going to be a whole lot, and there's not going to be a whole lot that I can upload, just because I have my desktop that I use to like make thumbnails and stuff like that. It's going to be packed up, and we're not getting our stuff until probably end of September, maybe even very early October. So you guys won't be seeing me for a while. Also, my Wi-Fi and internet gets shut off for this house tomorrow, so I have to make sure that I get this video out now. So yeah, anyways, I'm thinking about trying to maybe make videos in the background and pre-record, and so when we finally get settled and moved in and stuff, I'll have videos to put out for you guys. So I think I'm gonna try and do that. And then I also have quite a bit of manga that I have set aside in a box that I'm taking with me and not putting in storage, that I'm just gonna be reading while I have nothing else to do. Of course, if you guys want to stay up to date with everything about my channel and what's going on in my life, be sure to join the link, join my Discord using the link in the description below. My friends and I have been working on it, and it's going to be a pretty cool server. If you guys want to join, check it out. Talk about manga, whatever you guys want, and just stay updated with the channel. Check it out. It's really cool, and I would greatly appreciate that as well. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.